Good evening, fight fans. Welcome to another great episode of Headkicks and Headmakers. Haymakers. I said Headmakers. Jeez, I can't even pronounce this. That's the second time that's happened to me in the last few weeks. I can't pronounce the own damn show. Welcome to another great show. I'm your host, Bodkins. Of course, with me as always is my guy, Bobby Blunts. Mr. Bobby, what is up? Bobby Witt will be joining us hopefully shortly. Before we talk about this is obviously our UFC 309 preview. We will get into the Tyson Paul as well. Before, actually, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about this Tyson Paul thing. I do not think it's that big a deal. But I had a lady approach me Monday morning and was like, "Hey, you going to watch the fight on the fight?" I'm like, I knew she wasn't talking Stipe and Jones, right? Like I did never talked to UFC before, but she's never really talked about fighting. I was like, and I was just like the Tyson Paul fight. She's like, yeah, I want to bet some money. I'm like, well, we can't do that for another month. She's like, I'm so excited. I want to watch Mike Tyson win. He's going to knock him out. I'm like, what in the, she's like, have you been watching any of this? I guess there's stuff on Netflix, like the countdown maybe to it. And I was like, nah. And I was like, I hate to tell you, I could care less about this fight, but the public cares a lot about this fight. Is it the nostalgia of Tyson? I don't know, but I am interested in that production. But I just want to get that. I won't call it, maybe go back to it, Bobby, but I can't. People around the world want to watch this fight. Somebody try to tell me it's going to be the most watched combat event in history. I said, there's no fucking way. You can still buy a ticket for $40. I was like, and they were trying to sell me out. She's like, that's dumb. Why would you do that? I bought $6,500 ticket. I'm like, well, that's your own dumbass fault. And I guess bars are going to be showing it in Dallas and charging money to get in. I still don't believe that it's going to be the most watched combat sports because I feel like maybe it is. Maybe because a lot of casuals are going to join, and then the diehards like us are also going to join because I want to see the spectacle of it, the production of Netflix, but I could care less about this fight. But I probably am going to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Netflix is definitely putting a lot of money into the pre-production. I have also been a few people on the street I've spoken to about it. I actually told them, oh, yeah, I'm waiting for the fight. And they thought I was talking about the Jake and Tyson fight. And, it's kind of like I understand the person's comment and thinking it will be the most watched combat sports event ever, because that's solely just on the platform. Jake Paul's biggest issue has always been that everyone pirates these pay-per-views. So They finally forego and gave up on the pay-per-view model and said, let's just hit the market where we can get the most eyes. And in a large part, I think that will be the success of it. I'm not expecting the crowd to be really wild or really for it to be a sellout unless they're giving tickets away. I've seen them as cheap as $40 kind of all around. But kind of the Riyadh cards and stuff, to me, the crowd in this one is sort of irrelevant. I think the reason it's in Jerry World is because they were wanting to actually get this sanctioned. So what better place to look the other way than Texas? So, but
you could have had it in Dallas, where the Mavericks play.
Yeah, I mean, they always want to go with the big venue. So they're going to use the, aspect of it being in the Cowboys stadium as a marketing tool to kind of give that big feel. But the reality is, that was the only area that was going to sanction it. So, it's not they were talking to Andy Foster and they never, considered bringing that one to California or anything for obvious reasons. I think it was really big to them that they got it sanctioned. So, I would assume, I don't even know if there's any USADA behind it. I would assume there wouldn't be, Or if
Now,
not,
have you seen Tyson? Dude, look like he's fucking massive.
yeah, and I mean, obviously exemptions or something has been given, but like to me, the part I'm breaking down is not really the fight. I could really the co-main event I care about quite a bit, but the most interesting part about this to me is the fact that it will be on Netflix. What does this mean for the future of boxing and MMA? Because we're seeing these streaming guys get stuff going, and this seems like the perfect thing for Netflix to kind of take a chance on, because Tyson wasn't always the opponent at the same time. They wanted kind of that big feel. And I know a lot of people have been like concerned, like, oh, well, Mike's 58. This isn't going to be good for his health. I personally don't think it's that threatening to him at all. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a lot of arm punches, and it will be going to decision. I understand everyone's worry about seeing him get like flatlined and KO, but he still has the footwork, and yeah, I would expect it. The question is, will it be like watchable and entertaining, or are we gonna kind of know what we're gonna get in the first round? But the only reason I'm keeping an open mind is I just really don't want to shit on Tyson, no matter how much I don't have interest in this fight.
Yeah, I would agree with that. As far as just like I don't have a whole lot of interest in it. Somebody tried to tell me that Paul or maybe Tyson was going to knock him out in the first round. I don't think that at all. This is 2024, not 2004, not 1994. Like that's when Tyson. If you really think about it, that's when Tyson was in his prime. Was the early 80s and early 90s. We're talking 30 years ago, folks. Father Time is undefeated. Jake Paul, for what he is he is a YouTuber, a person who came up in YouTube. But guess what? He has millions of dollars and can dedicate every ounce and energy in second and time dedicated to boxing. So he's not like just some scrub. He's beaten some guys, like mainly UFC guys and things like that, and some amateur boxers. But I do think like I'm not really. I am worried about Tyson, but I'm also not worried about Tyson. I think it goes the distance because that's where the money is. The money is in the longer the fight. This fight ends quick and it's over. For everybody, right? Now, you know what I mean? I guess like there's no long production of it. So I think it'll be a longer fight. It reminds me of the Mayweather and McGregor fight. Like the way Mayweather fought that fight was not a typical Mayweather fight. Like he was more active in that fight. As a initial puncher instead of the counter puncher that you'll see him fight 9 out of every other fight prior to that fight. But it wasn't your typical, and he made that fight last longer than what it could have been. And I think that's kind of what we'll see Friday. With brother, what's up, my man? We're just kind of talking about really the spectacle that is Tyson Paul. And like I was saying, like I'm not big on it, but man, I've had people who I know I don't watch any sort of like combat sports, but they are all intrigued on and talking about and wanting to place money on this fight.
Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, so appreciate you guys. You know how we do. Thanks for everybody for watching. I had to do the dad thing, but yeah, man. Like in real life, we have you said a mouthful, Botkins, while I was listening. This is not 1994. This is not 1989. This is in 1997. This is 2024. I am intrigued to see a 58-year-old man. 58-year-old man go up against a famous YouTuber. Now let's break this down properly. Jake Paul and his brother both started off doing Disney songs. The original streamers of the cul-de-sac, let's say, because we culturally they are dynamic. both names reach across, race and color. So let's just drop that. But when we get to the point where he made the decision to be a boxer, I think Bakken said it nail on the head. He devoted every ounce of time, every penny and dollar to becoming a professional boxer. Don't get me wrong. He was initially set up for the spectacle of boxing. When I say the spectacle, yeah, he knocked out Tyron Woodley, but Tyron Woodley's jaw wasn't all that good after that time, right? Yeah, he knocked out Nate Robinson, but Nate Robinson's like 4'8". Okay, the list
And a
goes
basketball player.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
He knocked out a retired UFC fighter, a
Ben
basketball
Askren too, who was fat and out of shape and looked awful.
Did not take it serious at all. You know what I'm saying? Nate Diaz, who actually gave it a show. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I have to give Jake Paul some respect because somewhere in there he decided to put his legacy, his everything that he's pretty much worked for on the line to make it this far. You know what I mean? And he's not a slouch. This isn't easy. You know what I mean? I mean, this is Mike Tyson we're talking about, but this is 30 years past his prime. I mean, look, we got Mike Perry, he beat him, right? Ryan Berland, he beat him. Andre August, Nate Diaz, Tommy Fury. A split decision. Now that Tommy Fury fight was one in which I personally was like, I think that the boxing world and judges at that time did not want him to be a real boxer. So he didn't beat Tommy Fury. But he was supposed to do Hasim Rahman. I remember that. It was supposed to be another Tommy Fury fight at least twice.
Wait,
what?
When you just said, does that mean that when you watch the Fury fight in real time, did you score it for Jake and thought he probably won, or do you think he was kind of capped losing that decision, like in the boxing world?
I think in the boxing world they pigeonholed him by like mid round, and it was like, oh well, it's not getting any better because it looked like, and I watched that one. That one was more like a stalemate of boxing expertise. Let's put it like that. Neither one of them could figure each other out, and they did land some good shots. But Tommy Fury is known for putting guys down at that time. And he didn't do it. He didn't do it. That's it. You know what I'm saying? When you when you're doing boxing and like if I fight Floyd Mayweather, I'm expecting to not hit Floyd. If I hit Floyd, all bets is off. That time, Conor McGregor fought Floyd Mayweather, and he landed those punches, and you could tell that he landed those punches. I don't care, whatever. I throw the rest of the fight out. I don't care. Give that to give some props to my guy Conor McGregor. We got Francis Ngannou went there and fought the Big Fury, of course, right? Knocked him down. Wasn't supposed to happen. Give Francis Ngannou his props. So I feel the same way about Jake Paul. He has built up enough of I don't want to say clout, but maybe that is the proper word for it. But the idea is, however he went about it, he didn't go about it. He went about it in a way to make a spectacle, like P.T. Barnum. You know what I'm saying? Like he's like the P.T. Barnum of boxing. But somewhere in the boxing world, they aren't letting him in the door. But I like the fact that on every fight card that he has done with the Zone, they have some reputable fights on the card. If you look down there, we got maybe two that really mean something.
The co-main event means everything.
Yeah.
Katie versus what's her name escaping me, Bobby? What's her name?
Amanda Serrano.
Serrano. Yeah, Serrano. Amanda Serrano. Yeah.
We got Amanda Serrano. Then another one, low key, Mario Barrios and Abel Ramos, right? The WBC World Welterweight title on the line. And then another one I'm gonna keep my eye on, even though it's really early in the card. They got Bruce Carrington and Dana Coolwell. Bruce Carrington 13-0. You know what I'm saying? This is what we look for when we watch fights put on by Riyadh Season and Turkey Al Sheikh. Real fights, real competitive. Let's get the juices going. And each and every card he's had has pretty much done that. They've been exciting fights. They even though you're not really, even though we're waiting for the main card, the main event to happen, the fights before that have been worth it. These people these boxers have been taking home some of the biggest purses ever. You know what I'm saying? When they win these fights. So I can't really hate them for putting on the spectacle, for making it what it is. But right now, when we focus, and I know I'm rambling, when we focus on just Tyson and Jake Paul, I remember the y'all saw the newest Rocky, the latest Rocky. You know, his wife is dead. He's getting over whatever and all this. And he had the restaurant, and they was telling him, "Yo, we're just gonna go in there and train and get straight old man raw power, nothing but raw strength." That's what we are basically looking for from Tyson right now. Nothing but raw punching power. Did you see the size of his neck? Did y'all see? Pause. Did y'all see the video of him training and they pulled the head guard off of him? His neck did not move at all, ladies and gentlemen. That's a strong man. Okay, he's old and he's ornery. You know what I'm saying? And in every interview that I've watched, Mike Tyson has basically said, I'm not happy right now. I feel like the old me is out. You know, he's not jovial. He's not on mushrooms. He's not smoking weed in the back. He's training to beat the crap out of Jake Paul. I don't care if he's 58 or not. I'm interested in it, and I can't wait to see it. But at the same time, we'll get into what other events will be going on that'll probably have my attention as well.
Well, I mean, that the Tyson Paul fight's Friday, so you don't have to. It'll be separate from the UFC. So that's the
my mind will still be on Saturday night, even though it's on.
We'll go ahead. We can make a prediction here. I'm going to tune in, but I don't have. I don't care. Like I just don't. I have zero interest in the fight. Nostalgia will probably get to me Friday night as I see Mike Tyson walking out. Because he is a bad motherfucker. Like he is, and Nostalgia's a motherfucker too. So one thing I did see a clip, and it was like that was Jake Paul's problem. He's like he's a manufactured killer. I'm a natural born killer.
Oh my god!
Tyson still got them lines that make you shiver down your back. But Bobby, we'll start with you. Who you got winning? If you want to go ahead and give the co-main too, the I would say the diehards main event in Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. Go ahead.
I mean, as far as the co-main, it's going to be interesting. That one goes to the judges because the last time it did, Serrano thought she won, and it's definitely to me the most intriguing fight on the card, just because it feels like it actually has some stakes. But at the same time, I love the breakdown Wick gave of it. So at least there's other stuff I know to look for. I got invited to a party to watch this fight.
It's official if you got invited to a party to watch it, bro.
No one. Well, I'm gonna feel like the old boomer man, like shitting on everyone's party. Like I'm just gonna like watch it and be like, okay, like let's do it. But that the co-main event, I think it could literally go either way because it's so close there. So I mean that one is such a toss-up. But I would probably lean Katie Taylor because even though it was a pretty effortless performance in like not having to do much in Serrano's last fight that she took, she did take another fight in between this. So I'm interested if that is going to affect her if it goes more towards the distance. But you could pick either one for that, in my opinion. I don't even know what the line is, but I would expect that one to be a pick 'em. The main event, if you're actually making me pick this,
That's what we do, Bobby. That's what we do on the show.
So I could give a fuck if I'm wrong about this one. So that being said, give me Tyson 3rd round KO.
Ooh, okay. Tyson one time turns back the clock. I feel bad for Jake, and he put himself in this situation for what makes his pick. Is if he wins, you beat a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. If you lose, you lost a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. Like it's either a lose-lose situation where Tyson just gets to go on about being this. Whether he could knock out Mike Tyson and be like, well, he's 58. shouldn't have been in there. But in Tyson will always have that aura about him, about being the baddest dude in the world. And real quick, it was brought to my attention too. I was scrolling. Vitor Belfort knocked out, washed Evander Holyfield earlier this year or last year, and Evander's about the same age, and I would think Jake's a lot better in shape than Vitor Belfort at this point in time in their lives too. So, but go ahead, Whit.
All right, so I'm doing a little research like I always do. So Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson odds. I'm just gonna jump right at it. So the money line is minus 210 for Paul, and Tyson plus 172. A draw is at a plus 1100 right now. Total rounds, we're going 5.5. Basically 11. That's a pick 'em on that one according to FanDuel. Paul method of victory via KO is plus 140. Via decision plus 280. That makes a little bit more sense to me. And then Tyson method of victory, KO TKO plus plus 240, and via decision 1100. Like, bruh, like the thing is, the odds are against Tyson to do anything but just clobber him, and he has to. That's the only way he has to do it. Because in my mind, if it goes to a decision, if it goes to the judges' scorecards, it's going to go Paul, man. It's going to go to Paul. Paul's going to have the more skillful punches. He's going to, actually box him. He's going to, jab. He's going to be moving. He's going to be agile. He's going to do all of those things that you think a young fighter would do. And Tyson is going to go in there and slugfest, get inside. Lots of head movement, a lot of the old school, a lot of the videos I've seen, Tyson looks very fluid in his whole, you know what I'm saying? We watch a lot of younger fighters and they have a lot of head movement. Tyson's game in the past was his entire body, the swivel, the left and right, the duck, and then right under in your rib cage. And as you bend over, the uppercut to the head would take you down every time. Tyson looks really good for what they are saying as far as betting is concerned. But I have to go with the head and not the heart on this one because I would love Tyson to win and prove old Father Time unworthy. LeBron is beating Father Time's ass right now. Why not Mike Tyson? But then Jake Paul makes more sense as he will be more effective in the striking rather than just going there to knock Tyson out. So we're gonna go Mike Tyson on this one, but I am expecting Jake Paul to probably win by split decision.
So why is it close?
You said why?
What's the line?
Why is it so close? Like,
what's the line? What's the money line for each person?
Minus 210 for Paul, plus 172 for Tyson.
So Paul
That's
is
pretty close.
Paul is barely a 2-1 favorite.
2-1, yeah.
What I'm trying to figure out is it like this because there's so much public money going on Tyson?
Yeah. I think so. I think so I think nostalgia, and then you get all the casuals. He's fighting Mike Tyson. People still think that he's fucking 1994 2004 Mike Tyson. Like he's not walking through that door.
Listen, and the thing is,
but people are in their head still think that he's that dude, and they're putting money on him.
There you go. And I think that in reality, especially Bakken's somebody older than us, we're around the same age. Bobby, we're around the same age. People older than us are going, Tyson's going to knock him out. This is the one that's going to do it. This is the one. He's been playing around long enough with boxing. Tyson's going to get it. And that's why I think the line is just close enough where it could go. It seems as though it can go either way. Because I guarantee you that when they put this out there in Vegas, when they put this out there on all of the sports books, like that, those old heads with money was like, screw it, I don't even care. Tyson in 5, bam, Tyson in 4, and it just kept going up and up and up.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make my pick. I'm going to pick with my head here, not my heart. I hope I'll be rooting for Mike, but there's nothing in me that says that Mike Tyson's going to win. There's just not. My head says the younger fighter is. I'm going with Jake Paul, and I feel
Do not
nasty.
use the gavel for this fight.
I used it. It's actually Thor's hammer, Bobby. It says Thor's hammer, and it's actually a bottle opener. But yeah.
Inside baseball, I love it.
Let's get into a more fun fights, and that's Saturday's UFC 309 at Madison Square Garden, the Mecca, headlined by none other than, it's been a year in waiting. They were supposed to fight on this exact card a year ago. Obviously, Jones gets hurt. They rebook it 365 days later. Here we are. It is John, the heavyweight UFC champion, John Bones Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Stipe, obviously, the former heavyweight champion, has not fought in 4 years. John has only had one fight in 4 years, so it's not like he's getting all this ring, everything. But before we talk about the main event. Let's look at the bottom of this card's actually pretty good. It's thin, actually. That's not pretty good. I'm lying. It stinks. This card is thin. It's a typical John Jones, Conor McGregor fight. You do have the nice, decent, good 3 fights, I think, at the top. I do like the Bo Nickel and Paul Craig fight. I do like the Charles Oliveira and Mike Chandler. I don't even really like that fight. I didn't need to see a rematch of that fight. Nobody was clamoring for that fight. I'd like to see Charles and somebody else, not Mike Chandler. So I take everything back that I want. This card sucks. It's thin. Now that I relook at it, it's thin. Yeah, just on the card itself, and we'll break down the fights. Your thought? Because I like the Bo Nickel Paul Craig. I always want to see Bo Nickel fight. I was telling Bobby I was not into this fight. I probably cared a little less. I probably cared about the Tyson Paul a little less more than the main event. But then I watched the trailer and I was like, okay, I'm in. And I watched the countdown and I'm in. I'm in on the main event. Co-main, I could care less about. I didn't need to see this rematch. And the rest of the bottom 2 cards are some prospects that could be something, which we'll break down. But your thought on just the card itself before we break it down.
First off, real quick, notice how, and this is really for Bobby. Notice how Bakken said that the trailer got him interested. Aha! PFL, take notes. Okay. But yeah, so I feel my brother on this one. This is a top heavy card. Yes, indeed it is. But you get to see something fun, it's a little fun on here. You got some names. If this was 4 or 5 years ago, I'd be excited to see Chris Weidman or Jim Miller. Jim Miller's a fun guy. He gets out there.
Why are they on the main card though? At least there's some names.
Yeah, there's some names, on the towards the bottom. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Chris Weidman. He's been trying to make a comeback since he split his leg on Anderson Silva after he split his leg and that's crazy. And then like you said, boom, you get to the top. You got Bo Nickel, who seems to not get enough action in the UFC. One of the most prolific wrestlers ever in American history to have only 6 fights, and his career is maybe 4 years old. That's crazy. That means nobody wants to fight him, but he gets to fight the always game Paul Craig. We like Paul Craig here on the show on Headkicks and Haymakers.
Like Paul Craig?
Yeah, I do like Paul Craig. I can't lie. But Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler. Come on. It's not Conor McGregor. I know, but it's worth something. Can we get a chance to see, it's like a slinky. You know what I'm saying? After you twist the slinky but so much and you let it go, how far can it uncoil? Right now, we want to see how far can we get Michael Chandler to uncoil on Charles Oliveira. And will it go? Will he go nuts? I don't know. But then, of course, bro, come on. This is for me the main event right here is leading to one of the most, and it's only two ways this can go. It's going to lead to one of the most anticipated fights in 2025, or one of the most card-worthy money-getting fights in 2025. Because it ain't but two ways. And I'm telling you, because I'm saying this because I am not saying that Stipe Miocic can't win, but if he does not win, right? John Jones has put out enough air into this balloon where Tom Aspinall is going to drop from the freaking top of the Madison Square Garden like Sting and land in the middle of the ring if he wins. And that is my opinion. It should happen, yes, but John Jones has made it totally clear to the UFC that unless you throw the BAG capital bag at me, I am not even thinking about fighting Tom Aspinall. I want to get the money fight. I want to fight Poatan. I want that to be a legacy fight, and he's repeated it. And I think that John Jones is one of the best negotiators in the business. He should know that Tom Aspinall is on the menu. He knows, but is he going to tell everybody that he knows? No, he's going to go. He ain't worth it. He doesn't have the resume. Ah, man, Botkins to tell you he got the resume. Bobby, you'll tell him he got the resume. But John Jones will sit there and look at all of our faces and tell us he ain't worth it. I think in reality, this is just to set up to 2025 being great. When we get to, I don't know, International Fight Week or something like that, or maybe another fight at the Sphere or something like that, because that is where we're heading, as John Jones, he kind of alludes to either retiring, dropping the belt, or fighting for the biggest payday of all time. There's the only things that can happen. And I think, and I truly think, even if John Jones loses, those things are still on the table. Except for to fight. If he loses, there's no Tom Aspinall. But everything else is still on the table. Retirement or fighting Poatan. Straight up.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that obviously next week, Bobby. And we'll talk about it here at the top when we talk about that. What's next for each? I kind of just want this to end, Bobby, too, like so we can stop talking about is he ducking Tom Aspinall, is it Alex Pierre or whatever. Shit, just let Stipe fucking win so we don't have to worry about it. But your thoughts on just this card? I know you're excited about this weak ass card.
I think this the main card. I wouldn't use the word stacked, but I'm interested in every single fight on this card. It kicks us off with a fighting nerd. I mean, how can you not like that?
True that.
Silva. Prior to, I know her last fight went to decision, but prior to that, she had 3 first-round finishes.
Yeah, so I don't want to shit on those two opening fights. Like, they are good fighters. What I mean is, like, it's thin as far as pay-per-view. Like, I'm not, and I feel like if I'm paying $70 and it's at MSG, it's weak to me as far as that. I feel like, I don't know. I expect big names and ranked people with numbers next to their name when I turn it in on a pay-per-view, if that makes sense. Or a marquee name like a la Bo Nickel, who doesn't have a number, but is, him as this up-and-coming star. I'm not saying there's a couple of the, when we talk about it, aren't like, but they're just not names that I feel like I'm going to pay $70 to see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of used to the John Jones and Conor fights, especially. They showcase their up-and-coming fighters that they want to kind of give the rub to. And so it's not shocking to me at all that they have those two cards booked on the bottom there. Because, I mean, especially when you look at the prelims, like you said, Weidman's on it, and it kind of fills out with some more recognizable names. But I don't know, the Silva matchup, like I know I'm going to butcher the other gal's name, but like stylistically, I just find that very intriguing because they're both pretty, good at the grappling. And you know, we've already seen the last fight that she had in the Apex. It was like a co-main event, so it was like kind of high stakes, but it didn't have any stakes. So the graduation to like a main card of the pay-per-view, I totally get. But yeah, it ain't, you know, like the stuff back in the day when you look at it and it's just like kind of loaded. They've you know, not so much gone away from that model, but you know, they know that the main,
it happens once or twice a year. Really, that model happens. You know what I mean? Like it's about every other card, I guess. I feel like.
Yeah, well, especially with how they have the champions broken out. So, but yeah, I personally, like, I get the criticism and why people would be like, oh, this is weak and stuff. But then when you actually go to break down the individual matchups, I think that's just why I'm so intrigued by it.
Yeah, you have to dig a little deeper, and we'll just go ahead and we'll do that right now, because you do have to dig deeper. Real quick though, like I just would have liked to see. I guess I'd like to first see Chris Weidman as the main event prelim, fighting back at home, or on the main card. Just because of who he is and the history that he is, especially there, New York, New Jersey.
I didn't consider the hometown factor. I totally get that.
Yeah. So like that's my biggest gripe. Like I feel like he should have been there. But you mentioned I feel like they are highlighting these like lower when I feel like when you're the main of the first card on the the main event, you're highlighting somebody, and that somebody is Mr. Mauricio Rufy, 10-1. He's a huge favorite here at -950. He is 2-0 in the UFC. Every one of his fights is all TKO. Even his loss are you know, in most of them, four of his last 5 fights have ended in the first round. So and he has taken on James Lofton, who's 14-4 plus 550. He is 0-2 in the UFC, so this guy probably needs this fight to keep his job. Because if you go 0-3 in the UFC, you probably he may not have be on the roster on Monday. But this fight here is exclusively to highlight Mr. Rufy. Go ahead, Whit. Your thoughts here on this main event, or main opener of the main card.
All right, so when we go to our good friends over there at Tapology, we're going to look at the numbers for Mauricio Rufy and James Leontop Goku. I didn't know that was his nickname. So, like, right now, man, it's going crazy, to be honest with you. 2,445 votes, all in favor for Rufy by KO. And the other 3% of the votes are in for decision by Rufy. So this looks like an over-the-top vote by the general public. Once again, man, the fighting nerds are somehow taking over lighter divisions. Just like we saw last week at UFC 100 in the Apex, with Pratis. And, it's funny that, Bobby brought it up, man. The fighting nerds are a real thing. And when they are on the card, they are taking cats out. So I'm going to stick with the home team on this one right now. I'm definitely going to run with Rufy. I'm going to go ahead and pick Rufy for the knockout, man. I guess I got to go with the people with this one, bro.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, it will be another Joe Rogan interview wearing fighting nerd glasses. I mean, pretty much all it needs to be said. Like you said, it seems like a showcase thing. That is a really rough matchup to be needing a W. So, yeah. But at the same time, it's that camp is just going through so much momentum.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really be a scenario opponent where I'd go against anyone on that team at the moment.
Yeah, once you're a fight nerd, I'm already betting for you, because the way they are rolling with Caio Baharo and Parates, and there's been a few more that it's just like that's all they do is win, aka a la DJ Khaled. But this team, man, whatever they're doing in Sao Paulo, Brazil, with the Fight Nerds, something in the water or whatever it is, they are crushing it. And Mr. Rufy is going to win. He's going to win Saturday night as well. In another, I think, another where I feel like they're highlighting somebody is Mrs. Karine Silva, who is another. She's not quite as a heavy favorite, but she's at 18-4. She is the favorite at minus 270, and she is 4-0 in the UFC, and she's taking on somebody else. Maybe because the females divisions aren't as strong as the men, so maybe she'll keep her job. But she has lost 3 out of her last 4, and that's Vilvavine Arejando, maybe 12-6. She is at plus 220. Bobby, I'll throw it to you for this one.
Yeah, I mean, the line is pretty justified, mainly because she's been favored in every single one of her matchups. So she got a rematch back. A few like literally in that fight, she got the submission with 1 second left on the clock. So the finishing mentality is there. The other gal, her last win was when she got that win off Maya, and it looked like she dropped the first round, but then at the same time, some people thought she won it, but she won it 27-28. There was that first round was very tense. Like you saw both of them fighting, really respecting the other's power. And then she was able to implement the grappling in the second round. But, with Silva, I just think it's just such a different matchup because they both are pretty, well-versed in the grappling. But she's also got some scary hands herself and is not a throw if you're initiating the grappling. So, just off picking, I would definitely have to lean Silva, but I definitely do think this could be a fight if it gets out of the first round there, because, the pressuring on both sides back and forth is going to be pretty intriguing to me. And I definitely could see this being a fight that nobody was talking about. And at the end of the night, everyone going back, whether that's highlighting Silva on her own or it sounds kind of naive to call it a fight of the night contender, but I think it will hold up to, it's not going to feel like a stale viewing for a bathroom break or anything. We're for a pretty decent fight, and I'm going to be, very intrigued if Silva can get back to, finishing in the first round, or when she gets one more up there, just going to be. So, but yeah, give me Silva.
Yeah, real quick. Yeah, you mentioned it, Bobby. 4 of her last 5 fights have been submissions in the first round. Another one was in the second round when she was on the Contender Series. Her last fight did go unanimous decision for 3 wit. But your thoughts here on the flyweight fight here?
I'm digging it, bro. Bobby pretty much took the words out of my mouth on this one. This is, Viviane Araujo, one of, AKA Vivi. This is one of her attempts at somewhat making herself a mainstay. A record of 12-6, you hear that and you think, all right, that's not so bad. It's just that a lot of times, especially in the UFC, having consecutive losses in the
She's lost 3 out of her last 4. She loses this one. It's 4 out of your last 5, and it's not a good look. Unless you're Ferguson.
Right. So basically, out of 5, 3 out of 5 in the last 2 years. That's really tough to come back from in the UFC in any division. But of course, she is fighting Karine Silva, aka the Killer. And right now we're looking at Tapology out of 2,509 votes. Silva's getting this one. It looks like by decision. And Araujo got 7% by submission. So it's pretty much going in the direction that we're already stating it for. So I'm going to rock out and we're going to choose Silva by, what are we thinking, boys? By knockout? And
submission.
Submission, Silva.
Submission. Did you not hear me? All their finishes are by submission win.
Yeah, I got you. Silva, submission and we're gonna go right there. We're gonna go round 2, man. Round 2.
I
See
think
what
the
we
darts will be the more.
What'd you say, Bobby?
I think it could probably be by Darce choke. She's already got one on her record there, and that was I could literally. She seems very comfortable being on her back as well, and that's
whoa.
her winning in any side of the fight, whether she's initially in the grappling or defending off the grappling. I think that submission is a pretty good live bet there.
Sometimes I initiate the grappling.
I'm right there with you guys. I'll take Silva with submission to win this fight as well. I like her. I like her to win this one. Let's get into the main the third fight here on the card. It is none of the middleweight. Bo Nickel gets a big step in competition. He is 6-0. He is the biggest favorite on this card at minus 1,150. He is taking on Paul Craig, who has some wins. I mean, Paul's beaten the likes of Jamal Hill. He's beaten the likes of Ankalaev, but he has lost 4 out of 5. Has not looked great, after going back from, coming down to middleweight. He is 17-8-1, and he is the dog on the card, Bobby, at plus 650.
Yeah. When I first originally saw this matched up, I thought they put this together for Bo Nickel to showcase some striking. And I still kind of have that opinion. The grappling will kind of always be there. I don't really think it's a scenario where it cancels out because of Craig's jiu-jitsu. But I think Bo will be mindful of it. And I got him actually winning this by TKO, very well knockout, completely.
What about you, Whit?
Yeah. So, as I sit here, I don't know. I know Bach made the joke earlier about me liking Paul Craig. I get that flashback of how he did against Braulio, man, and how he was just trying to get him to go into the guard, and he was laying on his back, and Braulio was not having it. Braulio wanted him to stand and bang, pause, and it turned out to be
Hooker lays more on their back than Paul Craig does.
Right, and I don't know. This is one of those where to me it's kind of tough because Bo Nickel being the professional wrestling champ that we know, he may really have a good matchup where he's got him. Like you want to lay down and die, fine. Here comes Bo Nickel, in dominant position, where you thought your jiu-jitsu may be good. Bo Nickel's wrestling prowess is even better. So I'm going to share the screen with you guys so y'all can see with me. All right. So if we're looking at it, boom, we're also going to see what happens when we go look at the stats. Okay. So somehow, some way, if we're thinking Paul Craig, right? No, we're going to go look at Bo Nickel. And right now, Tapology has Bo Nickel at 91% out of 2,809 votes. So let's rock with it, guys. So let's go Bo Nickel. We're thinking what? Knockout? Maybe in the second week.
The grappling is a safer route, but
maybe by decision, Bo Nickel?
No, I think he gets Craig out of there.
You think he gets him out of? All right, so we're gonna go KO. Pick a round. We're gonna go. I'm going third round.
One.
Woo. We'll go in the middle then. We'll shoot for the two.
We'll shoot. He scorches him.
Woo.
Starches.
No, I just think Craig will be willing to engage in the striking, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, I do think I'm kind of with you, Bobby. I think it. I don't know. I could see Bo Nickel being like, "Your jiu-jitsu's not gonna. I'm still gonna wrestle you."
Right.
I could see that, but I also think that Bo could stand up and strike. Paul Craig's been shown he can't, not somebody that he's going to want to. He'll stand and bang in exchange, but isn't the greatest on the feet. I think it's a good step for Bo Nickel. Remember, Paul Craig was just at 15 or so at that bottom rankings earlier this year for middleweight. So he's probably like 17, so that would kind of put Bo Nickel right there, and then one first fight next year, give him a number finally. But it's interesting, Bo Nickel said he's only had 8 professional fights, which is, it is wild to think that. And here he is taking on somebody like Paul Craig. Just shows you, A, how good he is, 2, he has to, didn't have, because of who he is and the All-American wrestler, he didn't, he's not taking any easy fights. These are guys who've been around. But with that being said, I'm going Bo Nickel as well. So we're all 3-3 in lockstep here. I don't feel great about it. Speaking of not feeling great, it's the co-main event. It is Charles Do Bronx Oliveira. 34-10. He is coming off the loss against a UFC 300 against Sarukian. He is the favorite at -260. He is now the number 2 ranked lightweight, taking on the number 7 ranked Mike Iron Chandler, 23-8. Chandler, obviously, we have not seen it's been over 2 years since we've seen Chandler when he lost to Dustin Poirier at Madison Square Garden. We're also, I think a year prior to that or 2 years prior to that, lost to Justin Gaethje at Madison Square Garden. So he has had a history of, even in Bellator, he's lost to some fights. I think he lost to Eddie Alvarez at Madison Square Garden. So it's been a haunted horror place for Mr. Mike Chandler. But it's been 2 years. He has lost 3 out of his last 4. But, did take on his 3 losses were to Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira, and Justin Gaethje. So I will give him the credit on the 3 losses there. But never once did I watch, when I first watched that fight, if you remember, they fought back in 2021 for the vacant lightweight title after Khabib gave it up. They fought. It was Chandler was close, very close to getting him out of there in the first round. And then in the second round, Charles knocks him out. It was a good, entertaining round and a half, but it was never a fight I looked at and was like, ooh, I need to see them run that back. And especially after a 2-year layoff for Mike Chandler's not the name that we all thought. Probably not the name he thought. Obviously, it was to fight Connor. But
what the hell has he been doing the last 2 years to not take a fight?
He's been dealing with Connor.
Oh, yeah, that's right. How did I?
He was supposed to fight Connor this whole time. Anyway, I'm not I never wanted to see the rematch. Chandler is always exciting. He is very exciting fighter, and so is Charles Oliveira. So, nonetheless, we're going to get an exciting fight that I didn't want to see, but we're going to see it anyway. I'll throw it to you for the co-main here.
Okay, so after watching several interviews from this past week or before, one thing I like to a degree, and maybe it's because English media doesn't really interview a lot of the Brazilian fighters because, of course, of the language barrier, but Michael Chandler's got a vision board somewhere in his house, and he's reading.
That's a delusional board. That's a delusion.
And I'm like, yo, this man has got 2 years planned. He's like, yo, okay, so I'm gonna beat Oliveira. Then I'm gonna fight Islam. Then
he's gonna fight Connor. Then he's gonna fight Islam. Then he's gonna fight Islam and be the champion.
I was like, whoa, bro, please just get through this one, because you ain't fought in 2 years. This is I think what happens to fighters, man. You're so delusional that he doesn't care anymore. He's gonna just go off. He's gonna black out in the ring. He's gonna picture it's Connor. He's gonna lose it, and he's gonna find himself making a mistake in front of Charles Do Bronx that he thinks he could make with Conor, but he can't make with Drew Bronx. And somehow, some way, I think this is a sticky one. As we look at the numbers right now on Tapology, 2,826 people say 82% of those are going Oliveira by submission. The other 90% are going, 90% of that 18 are going Chandler by knockout. I really feel like this is one of those where it's not going to go far. I don't think so. I don't think we're getting past the second round with this one. Somebody makes a mistake, somebody gets clipped. And once again, everybody share it with me. Okay. What are we thinking? I personally have the heart of going Oliveira with this one. My head's telling me Michael Chandler's been waiting 2 years to whoop up on somebody, bro. And I'm thinking knockout by the second round. He catches Oliveira slipping. That's just me.
Ooh, okay. So Witt's got Chandler.
What you thinking, Bob? Think about it. Loaded slinky. Just remember that slinky. You just keep on twisting the spring and you let it go. It just flies everywhere. That's what I'm thinking about. A loaded slinky right now. It's Michael Chandler. Slinky.
Yeah. Didn't they stop having to make the slinky? Because in all seriousness, I get it. When this was first announced, I was highly critical of it. Mainly just because I thought of, you waited 2 years and now you're taking this harder matchup. And then I had the unfortunate responsibility of watching all of his media. And Ariel did a sit-down interview with him. Those interviews are normally very good when they're in person. He's able to really bring stuff out of fighters that they don't want to bring out. Granted, there was one moment there that I'm not going to bring up where that happened. But for the most part, it felt like a Zoom interview. Like everything he was saying was like just this whole visualization and like, I'm going to get this done. And the more I heard it on multiple broadcasts, I'm just like, this is all bullshit. He's just selling us this fugazi thing. And I'm not saying he does not believe it, but I think a lot of us are seeing that and easily discounting what he can do. I have in the past been very critical of his fight IQ in certain scenarios. And I do not think we get that Michael Chandler for this fight. I think I'm not going to call him a cautious Michael Chandler, but I do think
Michael Chandler.
He is going to I would expect him to come with some level changes. That first fight, he put pressure on Charles early. So he talks about, trying to get him to quit and stuff. I think Chandler himself knows that is not happening. And that is just more the gamesmanship of him selling the fight. But the more and more I break it down, especially with it being 5 rounds, I could easily see us needing the championship rounds for these. And that implies Chandler, fighting smart and, taking the opportunity given to him. But yeah, when I go to break it down, there's just too much. It's impossible for me to remove the see you at the top angle. And I'm telling you right now, it is like making me biased in my pick. Like as much as I want to try to break this down with a blank slate,
can't do it.
Like, I don't know. And then like you saw, Charles like literally almost finish Armin. Granted, if the shorts did not pop off, he very well could have finished him. So when you take in everything, it's I'm a lot more intrigued to watch it than I was when it came up, and it's like, fuck, nobody asked for this. Why are we doing this? But, there's a pretty decent scenario. It could be the exact same fight we got for the first fight. Because, Chandler being out for 2 years, when he gets punched in the face, who knows if the game plan just completely goes out the window and that's all natural,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I've gone back and forth on it long enough. I do think Charles will get the victory.
Wow.
But it would not shock me at all if Michael Chandler ends up pulling it out. I think it would be by some type of TKO. But granted, unless he tries to lay on Charles for 5 rounds, I don't think he could do that with the jiu-jitsu. But I do think he is going to use the defense for his advantage. And I'm a little bit intrigued to see the second one than I was the first one. But at the same time, my breakdown of the first one was completely wrong too. So, it will be a fitting fight to lead us into the main event, in my opinion. As
This is
get on it publicly.
Allegedly it's a number 1 contender fight. So, real quick, I do want to point out, Charles, when he was on this run, Charles, you look back, like Charles was on a run like nobody's business until he lost to Islam. Like he had won 8 or 9 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's like 11 in a row or something like that, man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, like 12 in a row. And some of the names that he beat on there, this is before the title fight, and they were all only Tony Ferguson, and the only person that it would never tap was Tony Ferguson, because you remember that fight, he had Tony's leg. He just ramped and Tony didn't tap, but they were all
Tony Ferguson that we know too.
Yeah, that was right after the Gaethje fight, Ferguson. So, real quick, I mean, he beat Jim Miller, Clay Guida, beat Kevin Lee. Then he beats Tony Ferguson. Then he beats Michael Chandler, submits Dustin Poirier, submits Justin Gaethje, and what he really couldn't win the title because he had missed weight by 0.5 pound in that title fight. Did lose to Islam, did TKO Beneil Dariush, and then did lose the close decision to Arman at UFC 300 and almost had him out of there early in the first round. Charles is an absolute dog. I kind of agree with Bobby. I think with Mike Chandler, though, when he came into the UFC, I don't have a lot of time. Maybe I try to win the belt, but more importantly, I'm going to try to get this bag. He had his eyes on a Conor fight the moment he signed the contract. Remember, he actually made his debut knocking out Hooker on a Conor McGregor fight and called out Khabib actually too at the same time, but called out Conor when that was the Conor Poirier 2 fight. He made his debut then. Like, this guy's been up and prior to these 2-year layoff, he's been in a bunch of exciting fights, fought the best of the best, and I think his whole goal was to get to this Conor fight and get that money. And then it happened, and then it fell through. So now, hey, I got to play smarter so I can get this belt, because that's the way to get to the bag now, because I'm no longer going to get my red painting night because he's too busy doing cocaine. So now to get the bag, I got to get the belt. So I got to be smarter. So I think you're in somewhat, Bobby, I think you're right as far as we should hopefully see a smarter Michael Chandler. He is an elite wrestler. This guy's an all-American wrestler, and we never fucking see it in the UFC because he's too busy standing and banging and trying to have exciting fights. I think we're still getting an exciting fight on Saturday, but I disagree with you on as far as like the championship rounds. We ain't gonna see that. I just told you, Oliveira don't win or lose. Oliveira didn't go to the championship rounds in any of his title fights. I don't think we'll see that happening here at this one. Much like the first fight, I think we get the same exact second fight. Give me Charles Oliveira, this time by submission.
Wow. Jeez. Oh, wow. I'm over here in the corner by myself telling you guys that Michael Chandler can do it. Okay.
I mean, he can. He almost did. He almost got him out of there in the first round. He was saved by the bell in the first fight in the first round.
Full disclosure, if I wasn't looking at "See You at the Top" Twitter post for the last years, I probably would have picked him. But I just
see you at the top.
See you at the top.
We'll see you at the top, and we'll see you at the top of the card here. As it's again the main event at Madison Square Garden. It is the UFC heavyweight champion, UFC John Bones Jones. Again, he's only had one fight in 4 years. You know what? I wrote John Jones as 28-0 because in my book he's undefeated. I wasn't going to give him the loss there. He is the heavy favorite at minus 725. And then he has taken on none other than what is considered to be the greatest heavyweight of all time in Stipe Miocic. UFC-wise, you could make a case that Fedor is number one. But nonetheless, in the UFC, the greatest heavyweight, Stipe Miocic, who's been off for 3 years since that devastating knockout that Francis gave him. He is the dog at plus 450. Stipe is 20-4. Bobby, I know there's so much storylines today, especially who does John Jones take on next? Whit alluded to it earlier. Is it Alex Pierre? He's talking Pierre. We all know that my guy Tom Aspinall is the interim, and we all want to see him align the belts, unify the belts. But unfortunately, Jones is saying Tom's an asshole and he's not doing business with him. I don't know if he's trolling, but also at the same time, Jones is like, hey, I could retire. I want this all to lay to rest. I'm almost, it's like a wrestling storyline that I'm ready to see its conclusion, and I just need to get to WrestleMania. I think that storyline of who Jones is next, that if he wins, will continue for a little while. But if Stipe throws a whole wrench in this monkey plan, that would be the ultimate Stipe move, and then maybe he retires because it's all about what Jones wants next, not what Stipe wants. And Stipe could come in and really throw a wrench in this thing, and then be like, well, Jones can have whoever he wants because I'm the UFC heavyweight champion, and he could either vacate it and retire, which I don't think would be to anybody's surprise. Or he could fight Tom Aspinall. That would be a fun fight. But Stipe's got to do that in the disrespect by the betting gambling, by the people that Stipe's not getting. People forget how good this guy was. Remember, he also beat Daniel. He's beat every good heavyweight in his reign, all the way up till Francis the second time, but beat Francis once, beat DC twice, much like John Jones did. Bobby, your thoughts here on this main event?
Yeah, pretty loaded one. Regarding all the outside talk and stuff, I'm gonna reserve a little bit for next week because, granted, I don't think any of that's going anywhere. It might someone up and retires. But to me, I have always looked at it very differently. I understand completely why people are asking for him to fight Aspinall instead because of the UFC's own doing of trying to do the whole, swap out at the last second for the interim title. And to me, the reason it has never bothered me once is because when that got made, Tom was told, you are not next. You will have the interim title, but you will be fighting, the winner of Stipe Jones. And I understand waiting a year for that is rough. But, put it to the perspective. Do we think Tom would have had 2 fights on the books if he never stepped in for that interim title? I feel like he would have just had 1. So regardless of his current situation, he's still far ahead than he would have been, and he will be the next guy in line for the heavyweight title. Whether or not that involves John Jones being there or not is kind of a separate matter. I mean, in a perfect world, yeah, they would fight, but I think John's trolling and gamesmanship has really been built off that, because he knew the media was going to ask him about the opposite fight. And these fighters got to really focus on who's going to be in front of the cage with them. And to me, I think that's how John was able to compartmentalize it all and still actually prepare for the fight. So I do not think he is taking Stipe lightly at all. Hell, he's pretty much had to camp for him, and he knows how dangerous he is. He's very methodical going over the tape and everything. So now that we're finally here, I am just very happy that this fight is happening, period. You know, it will close a big chapter in my fandom of MMA and opening a new chapter, you know, for the future. And, you know, Stipe is no punk. And it's not like he's been eating Doritos on the couch. He's been saving people from fires. Like, you know, the amount of shape that you have to stay in to be a firefighter, the training is just as grueling as the UFC. The only difference is probably not cutting weight. Newsflash, he don't cut that much weight. You see him eating at the press conference. And I love how he's found new ways to show the media, hey, I don't give a fuck about what we're doing here. Like, them trying to explain John Jones' resume to him, and it's like, just another fight. Like, you know, all of that stuff is for you guys.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the type.
Let's be honest. He knows John Jones's resume. He knows John. You know what I mean? Like, everybody knows his resume.
But that's the opposite that Gon went into the fight. Gon, you could tell, got caught up in the moment of what he was doing and stuff. And with Stipe, that ain't going to happen. And if for some reason it does, I'm sorry. That is fucking impressive. I am not going to, you know, accept the excuse of, oh, well, he hasn't fought in 4 years. Of course he'd, you know, be able to do that and stuff. If he is able to get a first round submission on Stipe, like, that is goat shit. I understand it isn't beating the young up-and-comer Tom Aspinall, but, you know, eventually I do think we are going to get to that. Because like Witt said, Jones knows how to negotiate. And this entire time, he's been negotiating on the microphone this week. And how much it is sidecard this whole thing. Granted, it's been more the UFC's doing, and they're more responsible for it. But I think it played out as good as it could have. I thought, you know, there was a chance. Like when I saw John just being completely relaxed during the media day, it's like, oh, he's already, you could tell there was some pretty rehearsed stuff because he kind of like went over it. But he knew exactly what he was doing going in there. He got in and out. And, you know, now he just needs to make the weight, get to the scale. We got the fight. And, you know, if you don't think, like, he got the gloves changed. So
yeah, we didn't really talk about that, but yeah.
Everyone's talking about like, oh wow, I can't wait for Tom to be sitting there in the first row. Ask yourself this: if he got them to change the gloves, do you really think they're letting Tom Aspinall in that arena?
He'll be in the arena. I don't think they're going to let him in the cage at all.
Yeah. I mean, if he is in the arena, I don't think it will be in the front row. It won't be a potent scenario where he could stare, you know, right into his eyes. Granted, like I could see the UFC doing a side-by-side angle, kind of like, you know, they tried to, I can't even remember what fight that was. Oh, when when Juliana botched the Kayla.
Juliana and Kayla, yeah.
So like I could see them doing something similar to that, but I think they will cater to whatever John Jones says because they are worried about him retiring, and switching the gloves on 2 days' notice is a testament to that. So
yeah, I think you could see if Stipe, let's just say hypothetically before you go real quick, if Stipe wins, and he doesn't put the gloves down, I think you could see Tom in the octagon, right? But that's the only way. I don't see if Jones wins, Tom will not come in they won't do no face off in the octagon at all. He is the backup fighter, so I mean he'll be in the arena. You know what I mean? As far as that, if you weren't noticed, if you're new and you're figuring out what Bobby's trying to say about the gloves, so the UFC for back notice for fans here of the show who may not be as knowledgeable. I can't remember what it was right before UFC 300. Maybe it was 299 or maybe it was UFC 300. They went to new design gloves, hopefully protect the eye poke. Now, studies have shown that knockouts are down with the new gloves and things like that. But John Jones pretty much admitted today on his presser that, hey, they called me about the new gloves. I tried them on. I hated them. I was nervous. They called me a couple of days before. Said they were going to go back to the old gloves, and I said, better decision, pretty much. So he pretty much was like, I hated these new gloves. And the UFC's like, you hate them, John? Okay, we'll get rid of them. There's a bunch of veterans on the card. They tried to play it off as like, oh, all the veterans on the card, they deserve the old gloves, and they don't like the new ones. But let's be honest, John Jones is the veteran who wanted them changed, and you changed them.
No problem with it at the same time.
Me neither. But don't piss down my back and call it rain,
Yeah.
Whit, your thoughts here on the UFC 309 main event. You're muted.
There we go. This is one of those ones, man. You said it in the very beginning of the show. The card is weak, but the front load for this one is if you're an MMA fan in general, just the average fight fan can name these two people and know that by name they are two of the best to do it. I think there was a time where we missed how good Daniel Cormier was. You know what I'm saying? I think some of us missed it because it was being clouded by fights with John Jones, and he was doing it in two divisions, and we didn't really get to see how good of a wrestler he was, how he dominated in Bellator. But for someone who's catching on to right now, you should be able to clearly identify how good John Jones is. You should also be able to clearly identify how good Stipe Miocic was, especially 4 years ago. You guys said the whole thing, the whole spiel. Stipe pretty much took on the who's who of the heavyweights, and pretty much, who is it? What's my guy's name? I was excited when Alistair Overeem came, and I was one of those guys who watched K1 on ESPN2 and FX1 like at 2 and 3 in the morning. And I was like, holy snap, Alistair Overeem's coming to UFC. Boop, fights Stipe Miocic, absolutely derails the Alistair Overeem train. So I can look at these two guys and I can say this is the stature of maybe like a Holyfield Tyson. You know what I mean? Like Holyfield and Tyson were somewhat at a range of age range in which they were somewhat both going out of style to a degree, but there was nothing better to watch in the boxing ring than Holyfield Tyson. To me, this is Holyfield, a very much Holyfield Tyson-esque. Nobody's going to get their ears bit off. No. But there could be a lot of, and this is just me. John Jones may decide to pull the wrestling out of the bag. Why? Because Stipe is so well trained off the hands, ladies and gentlemen. I think everybody forgets how dangerous his hands were at one point in time. Stipe was putting guys out on accident. He was hitting guys with left hands on temples, and they were falling to the floor unconscious. And
he was a juniors gold medalist or something. He's like won the juniors
club or something, right? A junior
golden glove. That's what it is. Yeah.
Like it, and to me, John Jones is not a ignorant fighter. When I mean by ignorant fighter, he is not unaware of the opponent's best skills. So I would think that John Jones, even though John Jones is one of the biggest risk takers I've ever seen in my life, especially at light heavyweight and especially at heavyweight, one of the biggest risk takers. Go in there, play soft, think he's gonna get knocked out. Then all of a sudden, here comes a spinning elbow because it reaches the size of the length of a 7'8" man or something crazy. So to me, this plays into John Jones turning this into something boring. You know what I mean? This is a fight for legacy. This is a fight for, who's going to be the GOAT. But how do you prove you're the GOAT? By not getting used and abused in the ring, and you're using and abusing the opponent. I think there's going to be a lot of wrestling in this one. I think it's going to be less stand-up than we are anticipating. You know what I mean? A lot of hand fighting, a lot of Stipe realizing, okay, John Jones is big now. You know what I mean? Everybody seen Chandler Jones. Chandler Jones got on Drink Champs after he recovered from whatever mental breakdown he had within Oakland, and told everybody, I don't know if y'all realize it, but my brother is scarier than most people get it when he's in that zone. I think this is the opportunity for, John to say, hey, Cyril Gane wasn't necessarily on my level. Stipe is, and we get a nice little 5-round bout. And I'm thinking, in all actuality, I'm feeling really decisionish on this one. So I'm going to throw this up really quick. Boop. And I'm going to look at what they got. So right now on Tapology, 2,866 people are going John Jones, and the majority are going by knockout. 13% are going by decision. The other 47% are going by submission. That's crazy that somehow, some way we're thinking it's a sub, but we've seen John Jones get in there and choke Cyril Gane out. I wish it was something like I want it to be a slobber knock. I want it to be all 5 rounds, and the guys are doing what we want them to do, especially since Botkin thinks this card is weak. So right here, guys, I'm going with my heart and my head because it's leaning one way. And I love Stipe Miocic. He can put the gloves down after this. He's already proven who he is. But I want to see John Jones declare war on the heavyweight division and not tell everybody he's going to fight Tom Aspinall and basically go, listen, it's the world is my oyster. And we're going to go John Jones by decision. All 5 rounds are going to happen. And it's going to be stupendous, in my opinion. Really, real talk. John Jones decision. Lots of boxing. Nobody's going to somebody's going to get put down, but I feel like if it's Stipe, it's going to be so much of he's going to come back. He's not going to get taken out all the way. You know what I mean? But we're going to drag this one out. And then when the camera pans to Tom Aspinall on the side of the ring, what is John Jones going to say to Joe Rogan? How is because and the thing is, Poetan's going to be there, right? We all know that too. What is John Jones going to say? How is he going to say it? And what is and what I really want to see is Dana White's face in the post UFC show. How red is Dana White's face is going to be, because he's going to go, yeah, I don't care what John Jones says. Nobody cares. We know what he's got to do, blah, blah, blah. But all that means is we're going to have to cough that money up. If John Jones wins, put your nutsack on the table, Dana White. Cough that money up. Let's get it at a huge venue. Let's do it in Dallas. Let's do it in Jerry's World. Let's go back to the Spear 2025. Let's do something great and make it worth our while to make John Jones have no other decision but to fight Tom Aspinall. Or, same vote, put your nuts on the table, give him Poetan, do it at Jerry's World. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. 2025 will be one of the best years for UFC monetarily if John Jones wins. Stipe wins, he walks away and rides off into the sunset, man. And that's how I feel.
So you got Jones. Bob, did you make a pick?
Huh?
Did you make a pick? Who you pick Jones?
Oh, damn. I almost thought I talked around it there. you came back and caught me. I was wondering how long it was going to go. Wait a minute. Look, I agree a lot with what Whit says in this one. I think it's going to be a fight. I think people have vastly been underrating Stipe. And I don't think Stipe is afraid to grapple with Jones at all. Dare I say, he might even initiate grappling himself. But fuck, it's just there's so many ways I could see it going. But I do think a decision is more than likely. If it's the fight that I see with both guys going back and forth, I don't think we're gonna get any. Hi, I'm just a kickboxer. My name's Cyril Gahn.
Yeah.
Stipe is very well rounded. There is a reason he is considered the heavyweight GOAT. I don't give a shit if he got knocked out by Francis. It's 1-1 in my mind. Anyone trying to claim that, oh, well, because of the knockout, we have no idea how that one would have went. Save all that bullshit for me. We're going off what actually happened. And just going off that, I do think there will be a very likelihood that the general public sentiment will be that Stipe Miocic won a decision. However, it is going to be a split decision for John Jones, in my opinion.
Wow. So you got decision by John Jones. I'm kind of with you. Like, first of all, the person that knocked out Stipe 4 years ago was Francis Ngannou, who hits like a cement truck. So it's not like he got knocked out by some scrub. It's not like, and then he did lose. He did get knocked out by DC, that was several years ago. But that was the fight right after Francis, right? Like, that wasn't a long layoff where
I love the 4-year layoff for him when you consider how bad that knockout was.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. So I do think and people like Mr. Christian here is saying, he doesn't think it's going to go the distance. I wonder if, Christian, you think it's going to be Jones, but he says problem is mission some weird way. Or Stipe. Stipe is great all around. Both of these guys are up there in age. I really like both of these guys. I like Stipe, but at the end of the day, I will never bet. I will never pick against John Jones in this game. I mean, he's undefeated for a reason. He has beaten the likes of everybody. Well, never take that back. I will pick him against somebody, and that's might be the man that people are saying he's ducking. But right now, I'm going to go with John Jones by decision here as well. Give me John Jones. I think we picked all 5 fights. Witt was the only one on Chandler that was for us on the co-main. But man, this card is thin, but those 3 fights at the top make it worth, make it doable. And I'm in. It took me a while to get there to this fight for Stipe Jones, but it is what it is. I guess it's for sure going at it. We never got to go at it maybe in their prime, but we're catching it right at the tail of their prime. So
this card feels like it has stakes to me, where the Jake Paul Tyson, it just feels like a novelty. And what I'm looking forward to is what it looks like on Netflix and stuff like that, to where there's actually shit on the card Saturday that I'm interested in seeing what happens.
Yeah, agreed.
What we got? What
let's see. So Christian wants to know. I'll lay it out for you, Christian, real quick. Or if you want to rewind it, it's cool. But if not, so we were all on Marcicio Rufi to win. We were all on Silva to win. We're all on Bo Nickel to win. And me and Bobby got Charles to win. And Witt's got Chandler, and we're all on Jones to retain. I didn't even give Jones a good hammer. Let me do this. And still UFC heavyweight champion of the world, John Bones Jones.
I got to be honest. I did not think you were going to do that one.
All right.
Get in the strange. So I am Bobby, and you're right. I always got to give out a dog on the card. So I have to, let me get this out before we get out of here. I'm going to give it to the guy who I said on the show early on the show that should be in the main pay-per-view. And that is, give me Chris Weidman as my dog on the card at plus 105. He is taking on the ever dangerous Eric Anders, two veterans. I like Weidman at the tail end of his career. Back at the Garden, the All-American Chris Weidman, my dog on the card, baby.
Hey, I like it. You know, hey, Chris Weidman on a comeback tour. I like how they do what they do. They've been trying to, you know, they gave him a little video, gave him a little documentary showing how he's been coming back. He's been talking to everybody who's had a similar leg injury, one of those spiral fractures, which are really hard to come back from. So I remember the rocket ship that was strapped to his back before he broke his leg. I know that had to do something to his confidence when, you know, he's not been winning as consistently. But I like you going with Weidman as the dog on the card. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in the future as well. So shout out to Chris Weidman.
Yeah, hey Christian, you just got to split it with us. You know, if you win some money on that parlay, brother.
That was a good shot about Chandler getting Charles's back, because he has shown in the past he can be vulnerable there. So yeah. I would not doubt that at all. So good shot there.
Real quick, wait, before we got anything, you got anything to add before we get out of here?
Man, real quick, man. Hey, thanks everybody. We threw the Tyson fight at the very beginning, so we're front loading the boxing for me. So join us as in a week or so we see whatever happens with my guy Teofimo Lopez, as once again he is trolling to somehow forget a fight with Devin Haney. But I'm excited to see what comes about with that one. I got some other news from last week's fights, but we'll keep those under wraps until next Friday to see, just to give some more boxing information. But man, don't forget Friday, ladies and gentlemen, NBA is back. Let's talk sports in the hoop with me, Jay on the MIC from Rec Room Sports, Bobby G from Audible Bobby's podcast, and our guy Alan Paraliz, aka AP, aka I can't pronounce his last name, also on the show as well. So check us out on Fridays at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, and somewhere in the middle is where Botkins is, where it's like 6:15.
No, it's the Central Time. We're 1 hour behind you, brother.
There you go. All right. 9. Help me out, brother. Thank you very much.
Bobby, you got anything to add before we get out of here?
Not really, other than, like I said last week, I was equally more excited to talk about the fallout of this card, and you know, letting that brew for a week. That is I can't wait. Like I would, you know, I don't expect Dana to be at the press conference tomorrow. I think he's going to send Anik to do it. You know, why is he going to subject himself to like all these questions? But I don't know. We'll see. If he's there, oh shit. Like we are getting some clips.
How red is Dana White's face going to be if John Jones win and pretty much just announces Tom Aspinall in the ring?
I don't think he puts the belt on him.
I don't think so either. I don't think so. I think he's going to let DC put it on him. DC goes in, puts the belt on John.
That ain't happening. Hey, DC got it rough on Saturday night because 2 losses to Jones and 2 losses to Stipe. You know, obviously Stipe was the career ender, so that tough night for DC.
He's gonna be high on that main event. Rogan's gonna be giving him so many edibles. Like by the time
what's the thing they take? Alpha Brain. His mind is going to be remembering every punch and kick from the last 4 fights with those guys. With all that Alpha Brain, he's going to be doing.
All right. With that being said, I'll be back Sunday morning, 8 a.m. Central for the weekly dump. Me and my guy Johnny Cruz. So please check us out. You can catch it right here on this channel for an episode of the Bodkin Show. So we talk all things sports and life, music, movies, whatever throughout the week. So other than that, folks, you can catch up.
Wait. I forgot, everybody. It was Veterans Day this past week. We got to say thank you for your service, Nick Bodkins, my brother.
I appreciate it.
So all the veterans watching, yo, thank you for your service as well. But our guy Nick put on the stripes and stars for us for a little while, even though he said he got hookers somewhere in there. But I know he did. I know he did it for us, ladies and gentlemen. So shout out to you, Nick. Man. Thanks.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Nonetheless, you can catch us here. We'll do the whole UFC 309 post show, and we'll even talk the Tyson Paul fight. Obviously, post show next week, 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern, right here. So tune in for another episode of Head Kicks and Haymakers next week. Other than that, folks, be a friend, tell a friend, like, subscribe, share. We'll see you next week. It's been another great episode of Head Kicks and Haymakers. Peace.
I love it. You guys are so great.
Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, let's talk sport, friends. Thanks for watching.